Hey guys, good day. For today's discussion on understanding the self is all about the self as cognitive construct. Here are the lesson objectives. After this topic, you're expected to first identify the different ideas about the self in psychology. Second, based on the definition from psychology, you should be able to create your own definition of the self. Third, analyze the effects of various factors identified in psychology in the formation of the self. Now, we're going to identify the self based on the concept of psychology. There are various definitions of the self and other similar interchangeable concepts in psychology. Simply put, the self in psychology is the sense of personal identity and of who we are as individuals. Other concepts similar to self are identity and self-concept. Now, let's define identity first. Identity is composed of one's personal characteristics, social roles, and responsibilities. Personal characteristics are the evident characteristics of yours, like your personality, abilities, and many more like how others might describe you. For example, your classmates describes you as a kind person. That's one of the personal characteristics of yours. Also, your friend, he describes you as a humble person. That's another personal characteristics of yours. Or they think that you are an intelligent person. So, personal characteristics are what others think or sees of who you are. Your personal characteristics can also be the same with others. Next is social roles. Social roles entail our role in the society. For example, you are a student, a parent, a son or daughter, or a mayor. So that's your social role. Simply means that social role is how the society define you or who you are in society. Last is responsibilities. Responsibility entail on what you do in a group, community, or society. For example, a parent. Your responsibility as a parent is to take care, raise, and discipline your children. And another example, you are the eldest son in the family. So, you are responsible of helping your parent take care of your younger siblings. That's your identity and responsibility. Our identity can be defined by our personal characteristics, social roles, and responsibilities. Now, we will going to define self-concept. Self-concept is basically what comes to your mind when you are asked about who you are. Self-concept means our ideas of the self. For example, you think you are a humble person, so that's your self-concept. Or you think you are a kind person, that's another self-concept of yours. Another example, you think you are an intelligent person. Self-concept is your idea of the self. Self-concept is a very important aspect in boosting one's self-esteem. Again, self-concept is the idea of who we think we are. Let's define self by one of the famous psychologists, Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers captured this idea in his concept of self-schema, or our organized system or collection of knowledge about who we are. An example of that is friends. For me, my self-schema of friends is or are the things that I think about me in my circle of friends. For example, I am the tallest one on the circle of my friends. So my self-schema when it comes to friends or I think about it is that I'm the tallest one in my circle of friends. Let's give another example. Jumar. Jumar is the eldest son in his family. When you say family Jumar, the first thing that comes into his mind is that he is the eldest one in his family. Self-schema is unique to everyone. It depends on our experience on it, and it's subjective. Theories generally see the self and identity as mental constructs. It is created in memory. Mental constructs is different from self-schema because mental constructs entails to our belief in it. Like for example, self-schema for Jomar is that he is the eldest one in his family, but his mental construct is that he is the most trusted child in his family. Another example, me. My mental construct in my family is that my family is big, noisy, and lazy. So, mental construct is different from self-schema. Mental construct is our belief, so it depends on our experience in it. Now, here's another psychologist, Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud saw the self, its mental processes, and one's behavior as the result of the interaction between the structures of personality. Here's Friedman theory, postulates that adult personality is made up of three aspects. 1. The id, operating the pleasure principle generally within the unconscious. 2nd, the ego, operating on the reality principle within the conscious realm. And 3rd, the superego, operating on the morality principle at all levels of consciousness. Freud believes that the behavior depends on the id, ego, and the superego. We can define this as a layers of demand. Now, let's start with id. Id focuses on pleasure, our needs or demands. For example, you are hungry and you saw a food. So, the id would say, eat that food, since id just focuses on what is pleasurable, and that's why it is the unconscious realm. After that, the ego would say, wait, maybe that food might be dirty, so we are conscious or focus in reality. Now, let's go to the superego. The superego is the consciousness or conscience. So the superego would say, dirty or not, you should not eat it because it might belong to someone else. So, id is the pleasure principle, ego is the reality principle, and the superego is the conscience. Under the theory of symbolic interactionism, Mead argued that the self is created and developed through human interaction. There are three reasons why self and identity are social products. 1. We do not create ourselves out of nothing. Yes, our society helps us to identify who we are. It plays a major role for us to be able to develop ourselves. For example, when we are young, we don't really know who we are. And as we grow, the society helps us to develop and identify who we really are. That's a reason why we are a social product. Second, whether we like to admit it or not, we actually need others to affirm and reinforce who we think we are. We really need the help of others like our family or friends to identify who they think we are. Your family can say to you that you are a talented child, or your friends can say to you that you are a kind person. That's another reason why we are a social product. Third, what we think as important to us may also have been influenced by what is important in our social or historical context. Indeed, our thought or what we think is important are influenced by the society or historical context. For example, we think that assignments are important, our relationship, or our religion. So, those are the three reasons why we are a product of this society. Social interaction and group affiliation are vital factors in creating our self-concept, especially in the aspect of providing us with our social identity. For example, you belong to a Christian group, so you read Bible and verses. From here, as a member of this social group, it will give us an idea of who we think we are and who we think we are to the society. So the people and you yourself would think that you are a spiritual and a very religious person. But it's not always the same. Here's an example. You belong to a dance group and other people think that you are good at dancing. But you would also think that you are still not enough and you need more practice. So, our social group and social interaction helps us of our self-concept and identity. There are times when we are aware of our self-concept, and it is called self-awareness. So, if you already have an idea of who you think you are and you don't listen to what others think or say about you, you are self-aware. For example, me, I think that I am a good person. So no matter what other people might say to me, I won't believe them because I am aware of myself that I am a good person. I am not boastful about it, I am just aware. And also, when a person knows about his or her strengths and weaknesses, that person is aware. Carver and Shire identified two types of self that can be aware of. The private self, your internal standards and private thoughts and feelings. For example, seeing your face in the mirror is a type of private self-awareness, or something that you are aware about yourself but others might not be. And public self, your public image commonly geared toward having a good representation of yourself to others. For example, one's overt behavior, mannerism, stylistic quirks, and expensive qualities. That's all for this topic. Thank you and God bless.